Luke, I am your father, eh? Today on Chasing Snails, I'm going to show you how to change the oil pan on your Subaru. The oil pan's kind of like a cup for the car. It helps protect the car's junk from losing its lubricating fluids all over the ground. Here's the tools you're going to need for this job. You're going to need a bunch of sockets, 8, 10, 12, 14 mil, ratchet for the sockets, one of these handles for it, it's pretty handy too, one of these extension bars with a little wiggly end on it, and a flathead screwdriver, little pry bar, some kind of RTV silicone, and jack stands, and a rubber hammer. You can see the oil dripping off it. It's coming out of here, this weld where the dipstick comes in. It's rusted out. One of the many joys of living in Southern Ontario. And so yeah, first step's just drain the oil, pull the filter off. So the first thing you want to do after you drained your oil is get under the hood and pull the air filter and ram air section off that was up here. And you can check out my clutch fluid change video to see how to do that. And then you pull the negative battery terminal, and then you want to get this brace off here that goes between the transmission and this other mount on the firewall here, and just a couple of 14 mil bolt here. That's loose. One last thing you need to do under the hood before pulling the oil pan off is remove the dipstick tube. So you just pull the dipstick out, and then there's just this little 10 mil bolt down there that you need to remove. You don't want to just grab it and then yank it out like that. You want to work it side to side and, kind of, get everything to feel nice and comfortable. You know what I mean? You don't want to feel like anything's binding. We don't want any binding that's sounds uncomfortable. So once you get everything nice and loose, with your hand working it, and then you want to just grab it and then yank it out. So I'm just going to show you everything I did under here. I got the jack under the transmission there to jack the engine up. First I loosened these studs for the motor mounts. There's one on the other side in the same spot. I also unbolted the exhaust manifold. There's probably enough space that you could get away without doing that, but I did it just in case. And you can see under here, just get some light, yeah, how much more of a gap I have now. And that was basically touching there before. Now you can see you just get a wiggly bit on the end in there, and then extension bar to get those bolts at the back of the oil pan. And then the front ones are pretty easy to access the rest of the way around. Here's the oil pan out. So the next step is to clean all the old gasket material off like this, and especially at the back where it's pretty thick. Now to take the oil pan out, I found that I had to take this oil pickup off, which sat in there just kind of like that on these bolts here, and then one back there. So here's our new oil pan back in the car. Got the silicone sticking out the side, so that's a sign that we got a good bead around. You can use just silicone, but I used a rubber gasket in there as well, and partially because I'm doing this in kind of cooler weather, just to make sure I get a good seal. the dipstick tube back in with some new O-rings, and I put some silicone around the top as well, some RTV, just to make sure it stays good and sealed. And now I got a made in Canada Subaru engine. So one thing that I forgot to mention in the video was to get the oil pan off. I found it to be kind of tricky, and so if you're lucky you can just whack it with a rubber hammer a couple times and it'll come loose. But I ended up having to use a pry bar and crank it off like that. And just to be careful if you're using a pry bar, because the engine block is aluminum and it's pretty soft metal, so you can score it easily. And if you're reusing your oil pan and just redoing the seal, careful not to bend your oil pan either. So that's about it. The car is now well protected and it's no longer dripping lubricating fluids onto the ground anymore, which was very embarrassing. So I'm happy to say that that's not happening anymore. So feel free to subscribe to this channel and check out my website, chasingsnails.com, or check me out on Facebook, and it's Chasing Snails DIY on Facebook. And give me your feedback. I always like to hear your feedback. And that's about it.